Hi everyone. So we enter the new chapter 6a. So we are going to study amortizing loan. So what is the amortizing? So amortize means the gradually write off the initial cost or reduce or extinguish a debt. So here is one example. So suppose our loan with 5% effective interest rate is repaid by 3 annual payments of $2,000 each. So how much of $2,000 in the first payment is used to pay interest and principal? As a rule, interest rate has to be paid first, and the principal should be paid second. Actually, how much interest is paid and how much principal is paid doesn't really matter for the cash flow. But this rule is important for accounting taxation. Interests and principal that may have different tax consequences. Okay, at first we want to define several notations. So first, the I sub t is defined as interest paid at the end of this year, and P sub t is the principal paid at the end of this year, and R sub t is the summation of I sub t and P sub t, which is the total amount paid at the end of the this year. And also that we define B sub t as loan balance at the end of this year after loan payment. So besides this relationship, the RT is equal to IT plus PT, that we have two important properties. So first property is that I sub t is equal to I times B sub t minus 1. So here I is effective rate of interest. So B sub t minus 1 is the balance in the previous year. So balance in the previous year accumulates the interest of I. So interest which has to be paid at time t is I times balance. And another important property is the balance at time t, B sub t is equal to B sub t minus 1 minus P sub t, because the balance is reduced by PT after the tth year. So if we use these three formulas, we can recursively calculate the B sub t, I sub t, P sub t, and R sub t. Usually R sub t is given in the question. Here is one example. Now, suppose that the effective annual interest rate is 5% and a loan is repaid by $2,000 at the end of each year for 3 years. So determine the amortization schedule. That is a table of R sub t, IT, PT, and BT for all time points. Okay, so at first, we think about just the timeline of this question. Since we are familiar with timeline, so we have 4 time points. The t is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So we have some present value at time 0. Then we repay $2,000 each at time 1, 2, and 3. So this is the timeline. So at first, we can say that the repayment amount is $2,000 each year. And now that we want to get a starting point, so we want to calculate B sub 0. And B sub 0 is actually PV. So B sub 0 is the present value of this cash flow, so $2,000 for 3 years. So B sub 0 is equal to 2,000 times A right angle 3 at 5%, which is equal to $5,446.50. So at first we can fill out the here b sub 0 as 5446.50. Now we want to recursively calculate I sub 1, p sub 1, and b sub 1. So first, what is I1? I1 is interest paid for the first year, so that is the balance at time 0 times interest rate. So this is interest rate, that is 5%, times balance at time 0, that is for 5446.50. This becomes 272.32. So you can fill out 272.32 here. Then next, what is P1? Principal repaid at time 1. That is the R1 minus I1, so 2000 minus 272.32. So this is 727.68. So 1727.68. So how about the balance at time 1? B1 is equal to previous balance minus principal repaid. So B0 minus P1, that is 5446.50 minus 1727.68. So this is equal to 3718.82. So you can fill out here 3718.82. In the same way, you can calculate I2 and P2, B2, and I3, P3, and B3. Okay, so at first, you can multiply I by previous balance to get I2, and that is 185.94. We multiply 0.05 by 3718. Then we subtract this number from 2000, then we get P2 is equal to 1814.06. Then we subtract this number from previous balance to get B2, which is 1904.76. Then again, the balance times I gets I3, so that is 95.24, and the 2000 minus this amount is P3, so that is 1904.76. So finally, you subtract this amount from this to make the balance 0. So now that we completed the amortization schedule. And the one remark is that if we take the summation of principal repaid, this becomes 5,446. That is the same amount as balance at 0. Because this is the principal repaid, so total amount should be equal to the original balance. Okay, and now that I want to explain the another way to calculate this number 4. So if we think about this amount as the present value of future repayments, actually this number should correspond to present value of this cash flow. So that is B1 is equal to 2000 times A right angle 2 at 5%, which is equal to 3718.82 dollars. So now that we have the two ways to calculate the B1. So one way is in the previous page, you can just recursively calculate B0 and I1, R1, P1, then after that the B1. So since this looks back the past, it's called retrospective method. And the second one is we think about the future cash flow and calculate the present value. So this is called the prospective method because it is calculated by what remains in the future. So now that we have two ways, retrospective method corresponds to this and prospective method corresponds to this. Okay, so now that you can do quiz the 324-3.